up until this point, we've still been seeing repercussions of the crack era. We talked about that before. And
Yeah.
a lot of the behavior that we see the youth dealing with, I think is a byproduct of that era, especially with the music that accompanies it and the images that they see of other Black people in movies and on TV. And I think that, that mentality is permeated through the culture. You know what I mean? And I like to think that we at the tail end of it, but it's the type of thing that nobody has ever really taken the time out to provide a proper analysis on. And so it's
Another big part of that is peer pressure.
peer pressure. Explain.
Nowadays, people, they're peer pressure into a lot of things. Like you might see your friends do it, and then your friends hanging out, people that do it, and you want to be part of that squad because you don't want to be a loner. You want to be left out. You want to have friends. You know, high school and middle school are more time to try to make friends. You figure out where you really are going to be at when you get older. And some people, the way they make friends is peer pressure. So, for instance, it was somebody in my school. He just got expelled for selling drugs, but he was peer pressuring people into selling them too. And it was just like they only did it because they wanted to be friends. They thought it was cool, but some things like that aren't cool. I feel like peer pressure really does play a big part in a lot of the drug situations, and especially in middle school and high school.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think peer pressure is something that's always been in existence. I definitely saw a lot of peer pressure growing up, and I think too a big part of it, you know, with peer pressure is social pressure. You know what I mean? You see people wearing certain clothes, spending a certain type of money, even if it's not coming directly from your peer. It's still a social environment creates a certain level of pressure that causes people to make decisions that aren't necessarily the best decisions, which is the very definition of duress. We talked about the word duress and the Black community being under duress. So, Nia, I remember when I was coming up, one of the things that was common, you know, in accordance with peer pressure, you also had this whole mentality of picking up your own identity, being unique, being yourself, wearing your clothes different from other people. That still exists, according to your.
It does exist, but the percent of it is very small now. Like I know a few people, and they're like me. I was in fashion. I like to make my own clothes. I like to like be a little different than everybody else because someone needs to be. And I know a few people that wear like that, but the majority of the people nowadays are more so on the peer pressure side. They want to do everything like everybody else.
You think social media plays a role in that?
A huge role in it. You follow people, you see how they're acting, you think it's cool, so you can get followers. You have some social media influencers who are bad influences, and you have some that are good influences, but sometimes in bad ways.
I wanna take a look at the definition of the word vanity. Vanity is defined by excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. You think that this time period that we live in is driven by vanity?
Yes, everyone's trying to fit in, and like vanity plays a big part in that situation when you're trying to fit in, changing the way you act, the way you look to fit in. And that's just the whole thing with younger people nowadays. It's all about fitting in. Sometimes you have the odd ones that don't fit in and they're looked at differently, which can cause bad situations. They can be bullied. And bullying is a really big thing too with the younger ages. They bully so much, but if they were in that position, they wouldn't have liked it. And it's more bullies than there is people being bullied. It's just it's crazy. Vanity plays a big part in that.
Uh, One of the things that I see in this generation is I mean, we had it in my generation as well, but I think with this generation it's taken on a whole new life. Idea of hypersexualizing our children and promoting different images to our youth. How would you say that affects yourself or people in your generation?
It affects us because it's like, how can you say it? It just shows us different things. And as a younger person, you want to try new things, figure out what's bad, what's good, what things you should do and what you shouldn't do. And I feel like that really tells you like different things to do, and you want to try it. You're going to try it. I'm trying to think about how to word this. It's just more so trying new things. Sometimes you might try it because you see someone doing it. Like if you see a celebrity trying something that might be bad for you, you're going to try it because, oh, she's a celebrity. You look at her sometimes as like a mentor, or even him sometimes as a mentor, and you look up to them. You like they inspire you, but it's not always good inspiration.
Sometimes as an adult, just something as simple as watching television. Sometimes I feel like um, sometimes I feel imposed upon with the different images that are coming through the television or just different things going on in the world, specifically in relation to the gay community. Sometimes I feel, as much as I can respect other people's position and choices in life, sometimes I feel imposed upon, almost like it's being forced on me. Is that something that you experienced as a young person?
Yes, it is. A lot of things are now trying to push everything on you, like how there's gay people now, drugs. Like that's where peer pressure comes in, and also social pressure because you're watching it. And like even if you try to watch something else, there's still part of that in what you're watching. And everything you watch now is just the new generations, is gay, drugs. They make them things the drugs okay. For instance, like Drug Incorporated, it teaches you a lot, but it shows you like they laugh at it and stuff. People might think that's funny, so they want to try that drug. Maybe it makes them feel good. In a couple shows, you see a lot of people being real gay. This is one. I think she's a director or a producer, and she's a gay producer. All her movies and shows are really. I think one of her shows is The Shy, and she pushes gay so much that it doesn't want you, like you don't want to watch it. You do want to hear about like gay things because you do need to understand it a little more, but constantly pushing it and pushing it and pushing it is going to make you not want to do it. You have to sometimes learn it on your own, maybe see it in a show, and then you might want to go research it. But when you just keep seeing it and seeing it and seeing it in this one show or one movie or even multiple shows and movies, you're not going to like want to watch them. You're going to make it not like that producer because it's just showing all she cares about or all he cares about is gay and drugs. It's showing that it's more to life than just being gay and just doing drugs. I feel like they should just push more, make it more equal where it's not just about gay people. Make it about something that's good in life. Gay isn't bad, but it's not something that we should all just keep pushing each other because then we're going to make other people believe or feel as though they don't like LGBTQs due to the fact that we have to keep watching it on every show we turn on. Some shows do need to have LGBTQ in it to teach you about some things, but they shouldn't force it. In other shows, you need to like watch regular shows because there are people who do not like it, and that wouldn't be fair to them. We all have different beliefs. So I think that that is something that as young people still see in this day and age is kind of sometimes disturbing. So it's just like you can't really find good shows or movies a lot no more because they always just pushing one thing on you instead of letting it like slide through or teaching you a little more about it than just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
When I was growing up, in the music, we had our fair share of ridiculous music that brought us all kind of uh, negative things, for lack of a better term. But we also had a balance. We also had music we could turn to that was inspirational as well. Today, I'm seeing less of a balance and more music that's geared towards things that will either cause you to end up in prison or hurt in some form or fashion. Is that also your observation with much of the music that's presented to you today?
It is my observation. A lot of songs always talking about gang banging and drugs and how it's cool to be in the streets when it's really not. People they either end up in jail, they end up in coffins, they end up on the streets. It's just like certain things aren't for everybody. Some people might have to do that for some reason, like they don't have the money for it, and that's the way they make their income. But I feel like the songs aren't always like what those real people do. Like the rappers and stuff, they're not always really gangbangers, but they're pushing it on people to make it look like they are. So now like this is social pressure. That's someone you look up to. Now you want to be just like him. One rapper recently died. His name was King Von, and he was rapping about drugs and guns and all of this stuff when he wasn't like that. He was actually a really nice dude. And his cousin is another rapper, and he raps about love more so than drugs and gangbanging. He does have a few of those in his songs, but his most of his songs are about love. And it just shows how different backgrounds can really be, even from the same families. And everybody's like, why ain't he popping back? Because they killed his cousin, but he still has 6 kids to go home to. And I don't think social media realizes that. I don't think people realize that he can really go to jail or end up dead, just like his cousin. And then his aunt and his mom got to bury another person after that. And I feel like the drug songs and all that aren't always the best songs. There most of the songs are drug songs and about being in the streets, but you can find a few good songs. You got to find the artist though. Like Dirk he's an okay artist. I'm not gonna say he's a good artist because he does talk about what everyone else was talking about for clout. A lot of people talk about it for more so clout than they talk about it for anything else. And I feel like that isn't always the best thing to do because now you're influencing younger people who growing up and they're going to be like you because they think it's cool. You have nice music, they like your melody, they like your beats, and they like the words you're saying, which aren't good words. So now you got kids growing up to be just like you. And that's not something I feel like people who rap or lie about in their rap should want anyone to do. I feel like that's something that's really just crazy because it shouldn't be something that everyone is trying to do now. If you look around, a lot of people are becoming rappers because they think it's cool, and a lot of them are ending up dead. People from Philly, someone recently died. His name was Keanu, and it was two of them, but one of them died, and they were legit rapping about shooting. And then look what happened. Now you're dead. You were only 18. He still had a mom to go home to. His best friend was his other person that rapped with him. And if he would have ended up dead, his daughter would have grew up without a dad. And they don't think about those things when they're rapping. The things you say and like beef is stupid. Because then you have kids that you have to go home to, and then they're growing up without father figures. And they look at their dad as the best man, but they never look at it as how he was talking about other people in his songs. And none of that. I feel like that we need to like change the music some because it's not something we like with the movie situation. It's not something we be forced onto us. It can be like drugs and streets. They are real things, yes, but it's not something that needs to be forced. Forcing it is making more bodies stand up.
So
and that's how I think that's just something.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least and 10 being the most, how much would you say that your peers are influenced by the music surrounded by?
9.5.
So you will pretty much say that their minds are being programmed by the music?
Yeah.
Your mic went out.
Sorry. I feel like it's something that's forced on them now. So now it's the only thing that's in their mind. Like you keep replaying lyrics and then you want to try to like be like those lyrics, which some lyrics most of the time aren't true. That's just something to get clout. And now that clout is putting you 6 feet under, in jail, homeless on the streets, kicked out your mom house. Your mom don't look at you the same no more because she knew she didn't raise you like that. Yeah, 9.5.
So you would say that music is more influential than knowledge or studying or education?
Way more. Music is more so like the melody, and the radio, you can constantly hear it on the radio. You can go on YouTube and you'll see new music pop up. You listen to it, you like the beat of it, you listen to the words over and over and over again. But when you're reading a book, it's not so interesting. You have to read it. The music you listen to and you learn it. Movies and stuff, some of them are educational, but that's not the ones you want to really watch. People, we don't really watch movies no more at a younger age. We like to watch shows, binge watch shows, because it's more entertaining. But the shows that are entertaining and that you binge watch aren't always good shows either. Most of them are terrible shows. One show I've recently started watching is 13 Reasons Why. And that show, it actually got me entertained. Like I could watch that show and learn a lot. It was about suicide. And it showed me a lot of different things, how she killed herself for 13 reasons. People was bullying her, she had got raped, people did a lot of stuff to her. And I was looking at it like, people really think like this in this day and age. People might really want to take their life over things like this. And I feel like the songs have stuff to do with that. The movies have stuff to do with that. That show could have caused someone to kill themselves. But the show also teaches us like how not to push someone to their limit.
I noticed you said something about young people today watching more shows and less movies. That's something that I noticed with my son, which was weird to me because for me, certain movies carry a certain nostalgia. When we think of Rocky, we automatically think of, bobbing and weaving, the music in the background, and where we might have been at that time period. But I noticed with my son, like he's so not into watching movies. Help me understand that about today's generation and the whole idea of not watching movies.
Movies are short. You can't get entertained by it. If there's a series of movies like Twilight, you entertained by it because now you gotta watch 5 different movies. And like books that have movies are more interesting because you get to watch the movie and compare the book. But movies are not interesting unless they have a book to it or there are multiple sequences because you watch it once and you left with a cliffhanger. It was just boring. But shows, they keep going on and on and on. And people don't really watch shows one season. They try to go for like 3 or 4 seasons, a lot of episodes, long episodes. Only show I know people that watch one season is Euphoria. Euphoria is a crazy show, but it goes on and on and on. It's a long show. Each episode is like an hour. So it's 8 episodes, which is like 8 hours, and it's just more entertaining to get to watch like longer things. If movies were longer and you had to pause and like you couldn't watch it all in one day, then maybe. But it's just like at a certain point in time, you get bored of watching movies because it's nothing else to it. Shows, they continuously go on, they leave you on cliffhangers, leave you thinking like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? But movies don't really do that. You just watch it in one sit.
I got you. So movies basically just can't compete with the whole idea of binge watching.
Not at all.
So what about older movies? I also noticed that my son, he's not very much like I try to get him to watch movies that I might have grew up on, like I mentioned Rocky or like The Godfather. To me, these are just classics, but he's just like, I'll watch it with you, but I could take it or leave it. So there's not even an attraction to watching like classic movies, older movies to kind of get a feel for what might have took place before your generation?
It depends on what type of movies, like Poetic Justice, um, Brotherly Love. Those older movies are more interesting. But if it's not more so about teenagers like Rocky, I wouldn't watch. I never watched Rocky, and I could never see myself watching Rocky. I never watched The Godfather. I don't know what that is. I feel like there's not something. The title doesn't get me caught on. Poetic Justice. That's a really tough title. It got something to do with something tough. The cover got Tupac on it. Everybody loved Tupac. Um, Brotherly Love, it was shot in Philly, so that's something you want to watch. The Meek Mills movie that just came out, it was trash, but it was Meek Mills. Like certain movies or older movies have to be with someone like that we really, really know in them. The title catches our eye. I don't watch trailers because then I don't want to watch the movie no more. It's dumb. Trailers just ruin the entire movie, so you got to watch the movie. And if you can't get into it within the first 10 minutes, the movie is trash. Older movies, they're trash unless it's stuff with Tupac or who else is someone that's good. It's just like people that we know, even though they might be dead or even alive, we know that are older, that we know we're tough. We're gonna watch the movie that's older. But Rocky isn't tough to me. I I just know he used to box.
Let me add to that, Elanaj. My son is 28. He'll be 28 in 2 days. So he might be a little bit past Nia's generation, but he's the same way. They don't care about none of all that white man stuff. All the white man movies, that Rocky, that Godfather, that Italian, they don't care about none of that. They don't have time for that. They don't want to see little Annie. They don't want to see none of that, man.
The only movie that's interesting that has to do with Rocky is Creed, because Michael B. Jordan is in it.
Well, that's different. But they don't. I guess the larger point is like the movies like we came up with. I mean, in the 70s and the 80s, more so the 70s. You got some classic movies in the 70s. The themes on them are old. You know, the themes are old news. The Godfather is about Italians.
It was Rocky.
Rocky is about Kensington. You know, so all those things are old, and our young folks have so many different things to get into with social media and all these productivity apps on their, you know, smartphones, and they're not gonna sit at home and watch a movie. You know, especially with old themes that reinforce, in my opinion, reinforce some of the supremacy themes. You know, they're not down for that. So that's what I say.
So yeah, let me get in here a little bit, man. That's where I was going with it. Just listening to my daughter talk, man. You know what I mean? Good job. Good job.
Thanks.
I think listening to her talk, it kind of creates a paradigm shift or the need for a paradigm shift. You know, where we can write ourselves into these really good opportunities and stories and begin to start shaping and changing the way the young people think. If we give them something to try to strive forward instead of just the drug selling, instead of just the street life, instead of the antiquated escapes from poverty. You know what I'm saying? You know, give them some more, real life solutions, like we talked about on our last segment with Feek. You know, the financial literacy, so forth and so on. So it's really interesting for me to sit here and listen to this, man. You know, it's really interesting. It's taking me for a little trip.
Yeah, it's the voice of our next generation. I mean, all the things that I heard are similar in scope to what we kind of came through with peer pressure and vanity and all the things that we kind of went through as well. So from that aspect, it hasn't changed. It's just the advent. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Common Song is so powerful because that's how I feel now too. I used to love her. I don't know if I love her no more though, man.
I still love her. I still love her.
You know,
I
certain
still, I still love her. I just gotta get
certain, but not all of it.
Oh, I never did love all of it though. That's
Yeah.
me. I just think she needs to be stroked and caressed a little bit more. You know what I mean? Nurtured, coddled. You know.
Yeah. Well, the machine is not pushing a lot of artists though, so a lot of the stuff that we hear.
That's something else I wanted to kind of bring light to as well, man. You know.
Yeah. So if you love hip hop, you got to look for alternative ways to get hip hop, not rap. I mean,
well, yeah, my daughter can tell you, man. You know, I push a lot of old music, man. You know what I'm saying?
Camera safe.
Yeah, I'm the same way as well. It was very, very enlightening what I heard, definitely.
Oh yeah, it was dope. It was definitely dope.
Very enlightening.
Yeah, definitely dope. So I do have a question for you though, Nick. In terms of, I heard you say that sometimes good people can push bad narratives. What do you really mean by that? I need an example.
Okay, so For instance, it's this social media influencer named Charlie Jordan. Charlie Jordan, she's a good person. She pushes everything that's good for you, but she also pushes some bad things, such as she has a really, it's a rap, but it's for like weed, but it's made out of rose petals. So it's like it ain't the tobacco, but she's still pushing the weed part. I know she's trying to save some people, but it's still weed. She's still encouraging drugs because now you got something out of roses. Who wouldn't want to try that? She's trying to do something good, but also pushing something bad. That's an example.
Okay.